Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're jumping into First Chronicles, specifically chapter 12.
That's right. It's a really interesting section. It gives us this snapshot of King David's life, focusing on the people who actually threw their lot in with him.
And often during pretty tough times, right, when he was on the run or just starting to, well, consolidate his power.
Exactly. And it lists all these different groups.
Yeah, it's more than just a list, isn't it? It feels like a picture of, loyalties changing, different skills coming together, how a movement actually starts to build.
So our mission, if you like, for this deep dive is to unpack who these people were. What skills did they bring?
And what does it all tell us about, well, leadership, getting support, and how these alliances formed around David? What details can we pull out?
Okay, so let's start maybe at Ziklag. That period when David was basically banished and hiding out. The text begins right there, listing the men who came to him.
And the very first group mentioned is, well, it's pretty striking. Men from Benjamin.
Saul's own tribe.
Yeah. Saul's tribe. That feels like a big deal right from the start.
Absolutely. I mean, these are kinsmen of the King David was essentially fleeing from. It shows a real break in allegiance for these guys.
And the skills mentioned are fascinating, too. Armed with bows, able to shoot arrows or sling stones.
Get this, right-handed or left-handed?
Ambidextrous. Ancient special forces, almost. Imagine the tactical advantage, being able to fight effectively from either side.
It's a specific detail, isn't it? The text even names some key figures. Ahiezer, Joash.
Jael, Peleh, Barakah, Jehu, Ishmaiah, who it notes was a leader among the 30, Jeremiah, Jehaziel.
So not just rank and file. These were recognized people, some already leaders.
Right. Then the text shifts slightly, location-wise. It talks about another group joining David, this time at his stronghold in the desert, some Gadites.
Ah, yes, the Gadites. And the description here is, well, incredibly vivid.
It really is. Brave warriors ready for battle, shield and spear.
And then that line, their faces were the faces of lions, and they were as swift as gazelles in the mountains.
Wow. Lion-like ferocity, gazelle-like speed. You can just picture them, can't you? Formidable, agile.
Totally. And it emphasizes their capability, too. They were commanders. And it says, the least was a match for 100, and the greatest for 1,000.
A match for 1,000. That's serious skill and leadership. It lists commanders like Azer, Obadiah, Eliab.
And they weren't just talk, they proved it. There's that specific mention of them crossing the Jordan River when it was flooded.
In the first month, yeah. Overflowing its banks.
Yeah.
And they put enemies to flight on both sides, so navigating this huge obstacle while fighting.
It shows incredible bravery, obviously, but also skill, timing, overcoming tough physical challenges. And the text adds that, along with the Gadites, more Benjamites and some men from Judah also came to the stronghold.
David's reaction is interesting here, though. He doesn't just welcome them blindly. He goes out, confronts them almost.
Yeah, he lays it out very clearly. If you've come in peace to help me, great, let's unite. But if you're here to betray me, well, may God judge you.
He's testing them, which makes sense, given his situation.
It really does. It speaks to that need for discernment in leadership, especially when things are uncertain. You need to know who's really with you.
And the response is dramatic. The Spirit comes upon Amasai, chief of the 30.
And he declares, "We are yours, O David. We are with you. Success, success for your God will help you."
We are yours, O David. That's just such a powerful declaration of loyalty, isn't it? Total alignment.
It is. And David accepts them, makes them leaders in his group.
Okay, then the story mentions men from Manasseh defecting. This happens when David was actually living with the Philistines for a bit.
Right, that's a complex phase. He was seeking refuge, but the Philistine rulers, they got nervous. They sent him away just before a major battle against Saul, fearing he'd switch sides back to Israel mid-fight.
A sensible move from their perspective, probably. They could see where his heart really lay, even if he was temporarily with them.
So when David returns to Ziklag after being sent away, that's when these men from Manasseh join him. Leaders like Adnah, Jozabad, Jediel are named, commanders of thousands.
And their immediate role, helping David against raiding bands. Practical stuff.
Yep. Brave warriors, commanders adding more strength. So if you look at this whole Ziklag and stronghold period,
You see this pattern, right? Different groups making a conscious choice, often breaking from former loyalties.
and bringing very specific, often high-level skills, archery, slinging, command experience.
And it just builds. Day by day, the text says, men came until David had this great army like the army of God.
Like the army of God. That phrase really lands. It suggests more than just numbers. It implies, a sense of divine momentum, almost unstoppable power building up.
So from these scattered beginnings, the chapter then pivots. It shifts to a much larger, more organized event
Ooh,
than the assembly at Hebron.
exactly. This isn't about joining a fugitive anymore. This is the big moment, making David king over all Israel.
As the Lord had said, that phrase is key
Wow.
too.
It frames this as the fulfillment of a divine plan, and the scale is just massive. The source gives this detailed breakdown, tribe by tribe, of the fighting men who came, armed, ready, and with this one specific goal.
Let's run through some of those numbers quickly because they really paint a picture of, well, national unity.
Okay, from Judah, 6,800 armed with shield and spear.
Simeon, 7,100 warriors. Levi, 4,600. And it specifically mentions Jehoiada leading Aaron's family and Zadok, a brave young warrior.
Priestly families involved too, that's interesting. Then Benjamin Saul's tribe again.
Only 3,000 this time. But here's that crucial note. Most of whom had remained loyal to Saul's house until then.
Right, so this smaller group represents that final shift. The tide has truly turned, even within Saul's own heartland.
Ephraim brings a big contingent, 20,800 brave warriors, famous in their clans.
Half tribe of Manasseh, 18,000 specifically designated by name for this purpose.
And Issachar, only 200 chiefs listed.
But look at their contribution. It's unique. They understood the times and knew what Israel should do.
Understood the times. That's fascinating, isn't it? It suggests they weren't just soldiers. They were the strategists, the advisors.
Political insight, maybe. They understood the moment, the bigger picture, the right course of action. Their value wasn't necessarily fighting, but wisdom.
Absolutely vital, knowing when and how to act. Then you get Zebulun, a huge number, 50,000 experienced soldiers.
50,000. And the text emphasizes they were prepared with every weapon and, crucially, had undivided loyalty.
Undivided loyalty. That phrase really stands out, especially after seeing the earlier defections. This is solid, unambiguous support.
Definitely. Naphtali, 1,000 officers plus 37,000 men. Dan, 28,600. Asher, 40,000 experienced soldiers.
Just massive numbers from across the board. It shows how widespread David's support had become.
And then from east of the Jordan, Reuben, Gad, the other half of Manasseh, get this, 120,000.
120,000 armed with every type of weapon. That's an enormous force from just those tribes.
Truly, it represents that whole eastern frontier coming together, fully equipped, totally unified behind this.
And the summary verse pulls it all together. All these were fighting men who volunteered. They came to Hebron fully determined to make David king. All the rest of the Israelites were also of one mind.
Fully determined, of one mind. It underscores this wasn't some shaky coalition. It was a decisive national consensus, a unified will.
And the celebration reflects that. 3 days, eating and drinking with David. Families provided provisions.
But it wasn't just the immediate families. The text makes a point of saying neighbors came too, from as far as Issachar, Zebulun, Naphtali.
Bringing tons of supplies, right? Flour, cakes, wine, oil, livestock, carried on donkeys, camels, mules, oxen. A huge logistical effort, really.
A community-wide outpouring of support to sustain this massive gathering and celebration.
And the reason given, so simple, so powerful. For there was joy in Israel.
Yeah. It captures the mood perfectly. Relief, unity, celebration. Not just a political event, but something deeply felt across the nation. Practical generosity enabling that joy.
Okay, so we've gone through the list, the names, the numbers, the descriptions, ambidextrous fighters, lion-faced warriors, the wise advisors, these huge unified armies. What does it all mean for us, looking back? What are the takeaways from this deep dive?
Well, I think if you peel back the historical layer, 1 Chronicles 12 gives us some really powerful insights into, building momentum, achieving big goals, leading through change.
You definitely see the need for diverse skills, right? It wasn't just about having fighters. You needed the strategists from Issachar, the leaders, the logisticians implied by the supplies, even those niche skills like the ambidextrous Benjamites.
Exactly. Any significant effort needs more than one type of talent. It needs that whole mix.
And the theme of loyalty is complex, too. You see people making hard choices, defecting from Saul, joining David at different points.
Loyalty wasn't necessarily fixed. It evolved. People aligned themselves based on leadership, circumstances, maybe a sense of divine direction. It's not about saying disloyalty is good, but understanding allegiance can be a conscious, sometimes difficult choice.
Those Issacharites, though, their contribution being wisdom, understanding the times, that still fascinates me.
It highlights that strategic thinking, Good counsel, understanding the why and when, is just as crucial as the how or the sheer force. You need thinkers alongside the doers.
It makes you think, doesn't it? In any project or team, are we just building strength, or are we also making sure we have people who really get the context, the timing?
Absolutely. And the logistics at Hebron, that massive feast fueled by community support, that's a huge point too. Leadership isn't just about giving orders, it relies completely on the practical backing of the people.
That celebration wasn't possible without everyone chipping in. It shows how vital that grassroots support and resourcefulness is.
And what stands out to me is that journey from those early, maybe riskier groups joining David in the wilderness one by one.
To this overwhelming national movement at Hebron, acting with undivided loyalty and one mind.
It shows how support can snowball, from a trickle to a flood. When there's a clear purpose people can rally around.
So this chapter, it's not just an old list of soldiers. It's really a case study in the human side of leadership, change, and unity. You see the skills, the loyalty shifts, the timing, the need for support, and ultimately, that power of a shared goal.
To sort of wrap up this deep dive on 1 Chronicles 12, the source really does paint this incredibly rich picture. Diverse people, skilled people, committed people, all rallying around David at different stages.
From those tense early days with defectors trickling in, right up to that massive, unified assembly at Hebron that basically sealed his kingship over all Israel, the detail is quite amazing.
It really drives home that building anything lasting takes that whole spectrum, different talents, unwavering commitment when it counts, and that essential practical support from the wider community.
And that final note about Hebron, for there was joy in Israel, it just captures the emotional heart of it all. This wasn't just political maneuvering, it was a moment of genuine national unity and hope.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with, drawing from this text, is this. In whatever big thing you're involved in building a team, maybe leading a project, navigating change, how much are you focusing not just on the numbers or the strength, but on cultivating that diversity of skills, on nurturing genuine loyalty, on finding those people who truly understand the times?
And what does it really take to get people to that point of undivided loyalty? To bring everyone together of one mind for something important, that's something worth thinking about.